Yes, we do.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Board's Commissioner meeting today, February 15th, 2024. The Portsmouth Redevelopment Housing Authority, PRHA, Board of Commissioners meetings are held on the third Thursday of each month, 5 p.m. All meetings are conducted in PRHA's main office, 3116 South Street, Portsmouth, Virginia, 23707. Unless otherwise noted, all members of the public are welcome to attend. Madam Secretary.
Roll call. Commissioner Cost. Commissioner Morgan. Here. Commissioner Pickens.
Here.
Commissioner Williams.
Present.
And Vice Chair Prince.
Present.
We have a quorum.
We have a quorum. The chair was ill today, so I guess I'm sitting in the chair today. We have a presentation for the FYI 2020 audit.
Yes. So we're going to start off with Mr. Eric Rumberger. And as you all know, we've been patiently waiting for our 2020 audit. And so he's going to give a presentation of that audit and be available for questions should you have any.
I believe everybody has.
Yes, your audit is in your book. Okay. Okay, you can have it.
Thank you very much. So I'm pulling up the presentation on the screen, make sure that everyone can see that. So we are here to talk about the audited financial statements for FY 2020. And just wanted to point out to everybody that because of the change in fiscal year, this actually goes from July 1st, 2019 through 2020. So it is an 18-month period. So in our brief agenda, we'll cover high-level audit comments, primarily over our different reports and opinions, then cover our required communication and have time for any questions at the end. So the agency, as a quasi-governmental agency in receipt of significant federal funding, is actually subject to 3 different sets of auditing standards. The first being auditing standards generally accepted in the United States of America, generally accepted government auditing standards, and also auditing standards required by the uniform guidance. And we'll go over each of those 3 in more detail next. So high level, the generally accepted auditing standards and uniform guidance reports are unmodified or clean opinions. And the GAGAS or Yellow Book Government Auditing Standards report does indicate a material weakness over internal controls over financial reporting. So the first report is our independent auditor's report under generally accepted auditing standards. That is our report on the audit of the financial statements, the basic financial statements themselves, and related disclosures in the footnotes. And I do like to point out that in our audit opinion, we do highlight that the financial statements contain both audited and unaudited information, and that unaudited information is the management's discussion and analysis and the pension-related disclosures. So we do like to highlight and call those out. They're also highlighted in the table of contents as unaudited information so that the reader of the financial statements is aware of that. The result of the audit was an unmodified or a clean opinion saying that the financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects. And the other item I'd like to highlight in the financial audit report is that we do reference other entities that are included within the agency that were separately audited, but were not audited under generally accepted government auditing standards, and that will come into play as well on the next opinion. So just to make the reader aware of, there's information in here that was audited under different standards. The second report is our report under government auditing standards, which that is on our internal control of financial reporting and compliance with laws, regulations, contracts, which could have a material effect on the financial statements. So that is the internal controls of the agency over the numbers that are presented in the financial statements themselves. And if there was any non-compliance with laws or regulations that could have an impact on the numbers reported in the financial statements, that's what we're looking at here. And that's what we'll report on. There's actually no opinion provided on the effectiveness of internal controls or an opinion over compliance. Rather, if there are any items that we discover under our audit that should be reported, we do report those items. So again, we do reference those other entities included in the financial report that were not audited under government auditing standards. So accordingly, this report does not include anything that might have arisen under government auditing standards under those separate audits. So the result of this report was there was no non-compliance with laws or regulations. However, we did note a material weakness in internal control over financial reporting. And that material weakness over internal controls over financial reporting really came about due to the agency being understaffed and having high turnover in the finance department, which led to supporting documentation and provided reconciliations were either not available or did not agree to the underlying accounting records. And that meant that there was several material adjustments which were necessary for proper reporting in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, and also to accurately state the financial data submission, which is the submission that HUD requires electronically and how they want your financial statements to be presented to them. And then our third report is our independent report under uniform guidance, which that is our audit of compliance for major federal programs and consideration of internal control over compliance with major federal programs. So just to distinguish from the previous report, the internal controls we're looking at here are what are the controls of the agency to ensure that compliance with federal program regulations are followed, not necessarily that they could impact financial statement amounts, but they could. A lot of times there's overlap, but that's not primarily what we're looking at is, did you comply with the major federal program regulations? So for this audit period, there was one major federal program, which is the housing voucher cluster, which includes both the traditional Section 8 vouchers and the mainstream vouchers. So we do provide an opinion on compliance in this report, and our result was an unmodified opinion saying that the agency complied in all material respects with the program regulations. And we also did not identify any deficiencies in internal controls over compliance to be reported. The next section we have is our required communication. So under our professional standards, we're required to communicate certain items to those charged with governance of the agency, which is you, the Board of Commissioners. And we do have a formalized letter that has been provided to management, and this section just highlights the important items in there. So the first is our responsibilities under generally accepted auditing standards and government auditing standards, and that is to express an opinion on the financial statements, which are prepared by management, as to whether or not they are fairly presented in all material respects. We do plan and perform our audit to obtain reasonable but not absolute assurance that the financial statements are free from material misstatement. So we do test on a sample basis. We don't reperform every single transaction. That's the reasonable assurance part. And then we're also to consider internal controls over financial reporting and compliance, as we previously discussed. The next several items fall under what we typically call other comments. The first is management is responsible for the selection and use of appropriate accounting policies. Those are disclosed in the footnotes. We noted no transactions entered into during the year for which there's a lack of authoritative guidance or consensus. We call those accounting gray areas. So if there's a choice between accounting methodologies for certain different types of transactions, we would make you aware of the board, hey, there was an intentional choice here, just so that you're aware of the different options that were out there. As estimates are a very important part to the financial statements, we do highlight what those significant estimates are so that you're aware. That's the allowance for doubtful accounts, useful lives of capital assets and related depreciation, current versus non-current status of compensated absences, and the pension-related balances. When we find any corrected or uncorrected misstatements, we do report those to management, and we have provided both corrected and uncorrected misstatements to management. There were no consultations with other accountants regarding auditing or accounting matters. It's not terribly uncommon that management could go out and look for a second opinion from another accountant to determine, hey, how would you handle this particular accounting matter or auditing issue, to then come back to us. If we were aware of any such consultations, we would report those to you, but there were none to our knowledge. There were no disagreements with management regarding financial accounting, reporting, or auditing matters. And then lastly, just to highlight some of the difficulties that we had during the audit, which contributed to the time to complete the audit, the condition of the books and records, lack of complete and accurate schedules that were provided, the inability to locate certain records and documentation, which were primarily due to high turnover and lack of adequate staffing in the financing department. Those all led to the time it took to complete the audit. And then on my last slide here, I do have the contact information for myself and Jonathan Kearney, who is the senior manager overseeing the engagement, so that you can reach out to us if the need arises. And that is the extent of the presentation that I have for you all, and I would be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I don't know if this is to you, Eric, or you, Ms. Winston. Are we going to get that letter that he supplied for the?
Yes.
Okay. Is any other?
The management letter?
Yeah.
Yes and no.
And in regards to some of the downfalls, have you guys been in discussion or you with staff in regards to
Yes,
make sure that we don't do this in the next several years?
absolutely. So we've made some adjustments. We now have Mr. Reyes, who's our CFO. In addition to, we have an accounting manager now, Ms. Tanisha Santos, and then we have an accountant that does our payroll, and then another accountant that handles our accounts receivable and payable. So we have additional staff that we did not have prior to when this previous CFO was here.
I guess we'll go around.
Yeah.
Mr. Williams?
The corrected and uncorrected statements that were provided to you, is that a year too?
I believe that is. If not, I will make sure you all get that. Was that put in there? Was that put in here to correct it? We'll make sure.
Whether or not it was, I'm not sure, but I can find out. If we can get on it for you.
And I think you addressed the issue of material weaknesses.
Mhm.
Those have been corrected. I think you talked about that.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that.
Mr. Morgan?
And keep in mind that this was, again, 2019, 2020, so I know it's hard.
Sure.
We're going in the past, so it's,
That's
we
right.
really should be, in 23 auditing now.
Sure.
So this is from a few years ago,
Sure,
but
that's right.
we made some strides.
Mr. Morgan, do you have any questions?
No, I mean, I just noticed he was talking about the main thing for the non-compliance with staffing, and you said that's been addressed, so.
We have additional staff now.
Mr. Pickens?
No.
Mr. Cox? Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Anything else you can add, man?
No.
All right, we need a motion to approve the commissioner meetings from January 18th, 2024.
I mean, from everything. Oh,
Motion from Commissioner Morgan, second from Commissioner Cost. Roll call.
Roll call. Commissioner Cost?
Yeah.
Commissioner Morgan?
yes.
Commissioner Pickens?
Yes.
Commissioner Williams?
Yes.
Vice Chair Prince?
Yes. So adopted. Chair, for once, has no remarks.
Really?
Councilman liaison remarks, and welcome back, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. We don't really have too much going on, so except what we always have going on. So this week coming up, we will be conducting our interviews for city manager. So that will take place on Wednesday and Thursday. And we're in budget season, so we're having those conversations now. So if y'all have any items that you all as an organization may want, or if you all just want to come speak on some different items that we'll have, feel free to sign up and express your opinion for those things. Other than that, that's pretty much what our minds are kind of wrapping around now, is city manager job and the budget.
Having said what you just did, I was going back on a few of the different meetings and one caught me off guard, whereas there was the issue with the cleanliness of Dale's homes and some other of our properties. And my question to you as the city representative is, have you driven through Portsmouth in general? To note the lack of cleanliness in general.
And we are having those conversations. That's been one of my top issues, since being on council, is the cleanliness of the city overall. To me, to me, it doesn't meet up to the standard.
Because we could just do
Not just-
a half a mile circle around Walmart and look at 30 shopping carts that are just on public property. So just wanted to make note of that. Executive Director.
Just a few comments from me. First of all, I want to introduce our new Deputy Executive Director, Mr. Carl Williamson. You want to say anything, Carl? Or tell about your background or anything?
Yeah, I'll tell you a little bit, born and raised in Portsmouth, a long time ago, obviously. Spent most of my career in Newport News, started in Hampton, grad school, corporate America, spent most of my career in, housing at the Department of Newport News Redevelopment. Great opportunity here. I met the staff, still kind of put names with faces, it's what I do, and been president of BOC, I work in the board with for Lisa Winston and others, so, welcome, and I'm glad y'all give me an opportunity to work here.
Welcome.
Welcome.
What have you?
I'm glad to have him, definitely. I'm also sad and disappointed to announce the retirement of one of our directors, Ms. Dolores Adams. She's been here with us for a while, and we're gonna have some big shoes to fill. She's been very instrumental with our procurement and our resident services department. And so she will truly be missed, and if you change your mind, just let me know. More than happy. More than happy to have, I don't know if you want to say anything regarding that, but I did want to acknowledge that.
Can I say boo and yay?
Yes. Thank you. Just a couple of updates, okay, on Lexington seniors, we had a pause in construction, for a couple of weeks due to some crime in the areas, and we came up with a security plan that I think, is acceptable, I know is acceptable to our contractor and the housing authority, as well as the police, and so construction resumed yesterday. And so we're excited, it should not set us back, we're still gonna maintain the 18-month schedule. And I also just wanted to show you all the rendering. I think you all have seen pictures, but this is a rendering of Lexington seniors. So you have a nice color view of what it will look like next year.
Now, when you say crime, do you mean stealing pipes and?
No, so
Seniors.
actually it was a shooting that occurred on Graham on the homeowner side behind, and they ran into Dale property.
Okay.
And right through that vacant area. So, thankfully, nobody was hurt. That, led us to a pause and just come up with some additional security, mechanisms to put in place, so. Also, I'm going to probably send out a doodle poll sometime next week or the week after. It's time for a board retreat. So I'm gonna come up with some days, or months that you all prefer. If you all want to do this summertime or early fall, I'll just throw out some dates for you, but we need to have a retreat. Okay. And in your packet, you'll also see the upcoming Buckingham Conference. It's a flyer. This is the one I shared with you. I didn't share the flyer with you, but I let you know about this last meeting. And so it will be held April the 3rd through the 5th at the Marriott, which is part of the historic Cavalier Hotel in Virginia Beach. So if you're interested in attending, please let Ms. Christian know so we can make sure we get you signed up, okay? And the chair is not here, but she did ask me, or at the last meeting, she wanted to know how much we collected and set off debt for 2022. And that was $6,375. I'll be sure to send her email, but I wanted to make sure I followed up with that. And that's all I have. You're welcome.
I don't believe there was any unfinished business. Next up is presentation of FYI 2023 fourth quarter financials.
That would be Mr. Reyes.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening.
And this is your packet, I'm sorry.
Yes.
It's in your packet.
You should have a little financial dashboard in your packages.
Mhm.
And the package has a summary at the front, and then behind it, you have a summarized version of revenues and expenses and assets and liability for each property. So we also have, much more detailed information, should you decide that you want to review it at some point. But I'm just gonna go over the summary. We ended fiscal year 2023 with a cash position of about $18.5 million. And there's a breakdown in red there for each one of our properties and the COCC cost center. To the right, you see the net revenue for the quarter number 4. And to the right is how we ended the year 2023. As you can see, most of our properties ended up with a small amount of revenue. So these are preliminary numbers. They may change a little bit. We may move things around, but for the most part, this is how we ended fiscal year 2023. We ended in the positive. We did not have to use any reserves. So that's pretty much what it is right now. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to address them.
Commissioners?
Beavis.
Phoebus. The reason that Phoebus looks like in the red is because, as you may or may not know, Phoebus is its own entity. We partner with investors. And when we partner with investors, we have to put the money that PRHA puts into the property becomes a loan to the property. And so we have to record interest. So most of the interest, the negative number there that you see is money that is owed to ourselves, to PRHA. So if I took the money that PRHA recorded as being owed, Phoebus would have ended with about $20,000 profit.
Thank you.
Any other commissioners?
Is that the same for like Supreme Court?
Pretty much all of them. They had enough revenue to absorb the fees that we put in there, but if we took out those, it would be much higher. That's going to be addressed later.
That it?
And
Thank you, sir. Keep up the good work.
thank you.
You're welcome.
I take it there are no action items. Others
Couple of resolutions.
for the department, yeah. And that is number 4. Resolution authorizing the executive,
Take you to the seat.
the execution of a contract for unit repairs 58 Dale Drive between Portsmouth and Portsmouth Redevelopment Housing Authority and Pyramid Enterprises.
So good evening again, everyone. And this may be my last time presenting to you all. This is bittersweet. We issued we reissued an invitation for bid, number 2024-01 for unit repairs at 58 Dale Drive. 58 Dale Drive was a unit that was, extremely damaged by fire. I issued the IFB back in December. We didn't get any bids at that time, so I reissued it the first week of January. And we received 2 bids. I posted it on EVA and then on the PRHA website. Over 500 vendors were notified, mostly through EVA. And the bids were due January 18th. And when they came in, I had 2 bids, one from Pyramid Enterprise and one from Haley's Roofing and Construction. However, the Haley's Roofing and Construction bid was disqualified. It was late, and I accept late bids. Pyramid Enterprise bid was for $125,000. And it was definitely the most responsive and responsible bid because it was the only one considered. And their price was actually 23% below the independent cost estimate that we had gotten. in, from the insurance company. So, they've had previous experience. They do work for us on a regular basis. They actually work for, an organization called Everbowl Renovations in Chesapeake, and they've done, Hampton Townhouse renovation, similar to what we're asking them to rebuild the interior of this unit. So based on the selection criteria established by the, by us here at PRHA and our solicitation and the recommendation for references, we recommend that we enter into a contract with Pyramid Enterprise LLC for the unit renovation at 58 Dale Drive.
Your motion?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend we approve resolution 2004-07.
I second.
Motion by Commissioner Williams, second by Commissioner Pickens.
I got a question before you go to the next one. I went in one of the damn phone before, it's been a while, but they had to like to stop things for fire. Did they not have that working? You know, you got to
I
know.
would have to, back to you, I
Okay.
don't know. But we do have them in there, so
Yeah,
I
I saw-
can't
I
say if
saw.
we're working or not
Okay.
working.
All right.
Commissioner Cost,
Yes.
Commissioner Morgan.
Yeah.
Commissioner Pickens,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
and Vice Chair Prim.
Yes. Next up is resolution 2024-08. Resolution authorizing an addendum to the contract number 2022-06 between Portsmouth Redevelopment Housing Authority and Pyramid Enterprises LLC to increase the contract amount.
Yes, so PRHA, awarded contract 2022-06 to Pyramid, in response to an RFP we issued 2022-01, and also construction trade services. We issued this solicitation, to provide a pool of trade services contractors that we can call on whenever we need, jobs done for the maintenance and repair and upkeep of our units. And when we awarded the contract, we had a not to exceed amount of $150,000 per contract year. This is one of our annual services contract where we issue it for a year with an option to renew 4 years at PRHA's discretion. And we used the amount based on our yearly average amongst the contractors in this pool. But with this year, with Pyramid, we had an increase in the number of task orders because we had some of the contractors that were either unavailable or we didn't renew for this year. So we had to, and we're actually using them as a flooring contractor for vacant unit turnover, as well as some other things. So they've reached their contract max for 2023-24. So we need to modify the contract this year to increase their not to exceed amount to $350,000 to get us to, we don't know if we're gonna you need that amount, but we wanna make sure we have that amount in case we need to, so we don't have to come back.
Yeah.
And so, and the Virginia procurement regulations and our policy require us to come back before the board for any contract addendum over $50,000. So we need your approval to modify their contract amount.
That sounds reasonable.
Need a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend we approve resolution 2024-08.
We have a motion, need a second?
Okay.
Motion by Commissioner Williams, second by Commissioner Cost.
Commissioner Cost,
Yes.
Commissioner Morgan,
Yes.
Commissioner Pickens,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
and Vice Chair Prim.
Yes. Dash 09, is that what I'm looking at?
Yes.
Resolution 2024-09, resolution authorizing the execution of a contract for independent auditing services between Portsmouth Redevelopment Housing Authority and Clifford Lawson Allen LLP.
So we mentioned this solicitation before when we were talking about the audit. We issued a quotation for small purchases for an audit firm to complete our 2021 and 2022 audits,
Mhm.
because they had not been done by Cone Resnick. So when we issued the solicitation for, audit firms, we sent it actually to audit firms that are experienced with work with housing authority, which were 3 different firms. Clifton Larson Allen LLP, doing business as CLA, Rubino and Company, and Dooley and Viker CPA. Rubino was unable to respond because they actually had a non-compete clause with, Cone Resnick. So they sent us, they declined to respond. And, Dooley did not have the capacity. So Clifton Larson decided they would, wait until they had sent us a bunch of questions. They considered us, they were uneasy because they didn't have the 2020 audit. They knew everything was
Yeah.
late. However, they did send us an estimate of what each year's audit would cost. And based on that estimate, we're here to, ask you to approve us to enter into a contract with Clifton Lawson Allen LLP, doing business as CLA, for a not to exceed amount of $200,000 for those 2 years of audits. And we will be coming back with you later to, because we have the solicitation on the street now for audit services. So once they come in, we will be back for a firm to do our annual service contract for audit services.
Okay.
So the last request is gonna be like a final auditor that we're gonna be attached with.
Right, this is just to get us through those 2 years of audits, 2021 and 2022.
Any questions from the commissioners? Looking for a motion? Motion to approve.
Nobody wants to talk to me.
Commissioner Cox. Do I have a
I'll
second?
second that.
Second from Commissioner Pickens.
Commissioner Cost?
Yes.
Commissioner Morgan?
Yes.
Commissioner Pickens?
Yes.
Commissioner Williams?
Yeah.
Chair Prince?
Yes. Upcoming PRHA events, meeting on 21st of March, meeting on April the 18th, and meeting on May the 16th. And Bacado is the 3rd through the 5th of April. Are there any other department head updates? Any comments from the commissioners?
No.
Mr. Pickens? Nothing? And is there, are there any public speakers this evening? You're allowed 5 minutes. Seeing as there are none. Call to adjourn.
Motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Commissioner Cost?
Yeah.
Commissioner Morgan?
Yes.
Commissioner Pickens?
Yes.
Commissioner Williams?
Yeah.
And Vice Chair Prince?
Yes, we are adjourned.
We are adjourned.
This is twice in 2 months.
This is the record?
No, I think last month was.
Oh,